this Monday motivation after this
and at least it's a Monday, so you have the entire week to also take the word and actually exactly. Do it.
Yeah. Legally, happy in the young weekend.
The weekend was actually quite loud this weekend.
Yes.
It was quite excitingly loud with all the bikes and the loud music, so it was a bit different, but it was good. It was good.
Nice one.
Yeah.
First of all, the power of the mind.
Yes. FM, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your support and you continuing to tune in every Monday.
This interesting topic. Take it away, Mr.
I think last week we touched on the importance of how to change the way you think, which I believe is also useful for a lot of people to realize the two main, what I would call pillars that are in your brain that you can actually master as a person.
Yes.
And the first pillar being the pillar of knowing how to speak good to yourself, because it's not everyone that has the capacity and the strength to mentally just change how they think. You know, there are people who have trained themselves so well that their minds are resilient. They are able to change their thoughts without talking. Because their minds are so well developed. They have exercised this for so long that they're able to do it. And I believe every human being owes it to themselves to actually explore how powerful your mind is. By allowing yourself to imagine, by allowing yourself to develop certain thinking patterns so that you can see that you actually have the ability to change the way you think. Because if you develop that, I call it a mental muscle, you know, where you are able to have a muscle that allows you to think the way you prefer thinking as opposed to the way the world and everything else that happens around you forces you to think. You know, people can speak negative, but you need to choose as a person to say, even though people speak negative, I will speak positive. Even though people are, discouraged and they are demoralized, I will actually encourage myself and I will strengthen myself. Yes. And sometimes, you cannot look for that level of motivation outside yourself, which is one of the reasons why, the way I talk even on the shows, I'm not trying to say you must depend on me and everything I say every time, but I'm trying to give you tools that will allow you beyond just the show for you to be able to start having a system for yourself that allows you to train yourself to do better even mentally. And this is important because if you learn to say good things about yourself, that means you must find good things about yourself. And sometimes it's hard. If I can give you a page and say, draw a line in the middle of this page, and on the left-hand side, write all the bad things about yourself, and write all the good things about yourself, people tend to naturally just have a lot of bad things to say. I mean, even people who are married now, if you were to say, please, write the bad things about your partner, the good things about, you will see the list on the left is much, much longer than the list on the right. Because people have trained themselves to look for faults as opposed to looking for the good. And now you realize that it requires a really true mental shift for you to get into a space where you now start seeing good. Because you will even begin to appreciate things around you more. You will appreciate people around you much more because you are starting to look at things from a positive eye as opposed to a critical eye. It's okay to be critical every once in a while when you are trying to make a decision and you need to make sure that it's not a wrong decision. But you can't be critical all the time. Because when you are critical all the time, you even discourage yourself from doing things. That is why you will find that even in a business, whether it's employment, you'll find if you are a good manager, you know how to structure the people that advise you as your team. You know in your team there are people who are critical. You know in your team there are people who are, I would say they are reasonable. They are balanced in their thinking. And you know there are those who are enthusiastic, that always believe anything is possible. Now, when you talk to that whole group as a good leader, you are able to tell how much of what can you take from who. Because you understand their thinking patterns. And you are able to balance the critical and the enthusiastic with the one who's actually more balanced. And that allows you as a leader to even make better decisions because you understand your people and the way they think much better. But now, think about it this way. A person who's critical is useful when you have to make decisions. But that person is not useful when you have to do day-to-day things.
Yo.
Because they will delay the process.
Yes.
Now, realize when you are critical about yourself, you are always saying, I can't do this. You know, this cannot happen. This can't happen. And if you are that critical, the chances are your progress in life will just be as equally slow.
Yo.
There are times in your life where you just have to take a leap of faith and believe in your ability and say, I am doing this one. Whether they say I'm qualified for it or not, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yes, sir.
And it's important to do that because then you realize that there are times where you will do certain things and you will fail. Now, if you are a person who is not critical all the time, even failure, your perception of failure is going to be different. Because you are not going to look at failure as something that says you are incapable, you are incompetent, you cannot achieve. But you will look at failure as something that says it's a step towards the right direction. Whatever that I can't do right now that I'm failing at doing is teaching me how to do it better the next time I'm faced with the same challenge.
Yes,
so you learn more from your failures than disappointment.
Okay.
You actually learn encouragement and you take lessons from that than disappointment. And for me, that is very important because then you begin to realize as a person, like I said, you take a piece of paper, you draw a line in between and you write all the good things about yourself. You write all the bad things about yourself. You will realize that if your thinking pattern leans more to the negative, you will have a lot more negative things to say. And this is a test you need to actually do every once in a while in your life. Even if you do it every 3 or 4 months, maybe do it 3 or 4 times in a year, so that you just check how your thinking actually improves as you begin to speak positive about yourself. Now, let me tell you something. After you have done that list, you might find that you've got 20 negative things about yourself, but you might have 5 good things about yourself. Now, this is how you change it. You start looking at that 5 thing. You ignore the negative.
Okay.
Every morning when you wake up or you take time in a day, I prefer the morning because you're still fresh, your brain is relaxed, you are more susceptible to taking things in. So you wake up in the morning, you look at that list of 5 things and you begin to say them to yourself. I am smart.
Yes, sir.
I am good looking. I am strong. I am intelligent. And you say it every morning. You say it every morning. You say it as you continue to say it, you will realize, there's also handsome in there.
Yes.
There's also resourceful in there. There's also a happy person. There's a lot, and you realize your list grows and grows and grows and grows. Before you know it, now the negative. Even if it was 20, now you have 30 good things to say about yourself. Before you know it, there's 40, there's 50 good things to say about yourself. Guess what that means? What that means is that your mind is beginning to see you in a much more positive light than you used to before. Now that is progress. Because it means your thinking patterns have now started leaning towards being positive. Let me tell you something about doing that. Even that will show in your moods.
Okay.
It will show in the way you interact with people. It will show even in your character. People will begin to say, hey, respiri. You know, there's something that has changed. What our 2023 what's terrible respiri, all that respiri is doing. Respiri is actually just taking time to find good things and they are saying those good things. You know, you find a lot of songs today that people are, like the one you are quoting now, Dilo Di Chinchi. It's the most, I don't even know who actually does the song, but it's so popular that you hear it everywhere. Now, you see, it's so good when you say that, Dilo Di Chinchi, simply because you know you have put effort in changing those things about yourself. And it's not just, a lot of people believe that with God, all you have to do is just to pray. And what they don't realize is that there's a portion of prayer that includes you doing work.
Put the effort.
And you putting that effort has everything to do with changing your mindset.
Nice.
And this becomes important because changing your mindset also includes you making sure you speak right, you speak positive to yourself, you make sure, what do you see,
Yes.
say good things about yourself. Even if you don't believe it, it's okay. It's okay. Now, you can imagine if you don't believe it at that time when you are saying it, how much more everyone around you. So you need to say it to yourself until you begin to. I was telling you last week, the kind of stuff I say to myself in the morning when I wake up. If you were to stand on my window and hear me say, you'll say, Mara, this guy. This guy, how does he think of himself like this? And it's not, you are not supposed to be apologetic about how you feel about yourself. You are not supposed, and some of the most successful people in the world, if you were to listen to them speak, very rarely you will hear them say something negative about themselves. I remember Elon Musk when he started the space program. When he started the space program, he had people that he admired in the space.
Yeah.
Ne? So now, those people were saying negative things about his program when it started. And his program is now doing well.
Very well.
So now they asked him on hindsight and they said, so how did it make you feel when those people were saying those things?
Yes.
You know, he said for a while you could tell he was emotional. And he says it really hurt me for me to hear people I admire say those things to me.
Yeah.
They didn't realize that they are the reason why I started this program.
Oh.
And what he then said is that even though they said what they said, because I believed that there's a different way of doing it, I went for it anyways.
Wow.
So you realize that for a person to be great, sometimes it has very little to do with some of the people that you trust.
Yeah.
Some of the people, maybe you are in a relationship, you're hoping your partner to say good things about you, to say positive things about you. Some people are in relationships where your partner even laughs at you when you bring a business proposal to the table. Say, only domo ya na wena. You think this thing is way too complicated. The radio is simple. Bula tak shop. Wena we are kwa. And you realize sometimes you just have to stand your ground because you might not always have people that are there to encourage you and motivate you. But if you don't stand and say, I will do it, I do not care what people think, I am going to do it because I believe in myself. And this becomes important because it will make you realize that a lot of what we call motivation is not about what you hear from the outside, it's what you say to yourself.
Wow.
And that just changes everything. And the second pillar to this, we spoke about the pillar of association. The people you associate with. And I said last week that a lot of people tend, when you have the same experiences in life, you tend to gravitate towards each other.
True.
Now, sometimes that is good and sometimes it's bad.
Okay.
Because it can be good in a sense that when you gravitate towards people because their emotions are positive.
Oh.
So when the emotions are positive, we are smart thinkers. We are, we speak well. We like being around each other because we speak well. And we speak well even about each other. Yeah. You know, it's so good to have friends and people around you that when they look at you and say, Mara, do you know how smart you are?
Yeah.
Do you know how much you can do in this life? You know, even sometimes when you're feeling like, life is just not going well for you. And you are with that friend and that friend looks at you and say, I know you're going through a lot, but you know how intelligent you are. Do you know that you can actually come out of this trouble? The way you are. And those kind of talks is what you need. You need, and you are saying to them, hey, things are hard and things are difficult. They go, hey, you know what? And they also tell you how hard it is for them. To say, hey, it's very, very hard. It does not help you. It does not help you. You need to associate with people that share similar positive energy. Because when you do that, you are putting yourself in a space where you are growing your mental capacity to be able to start thinking positively about yourself. This is what I always say to people.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right people around you, rather be alone. You only have one brain. You only have one brain. If anything goes wrong in that brain, you are not going to get a replacement.
Never.
I think even today, we have not even mastered medically the art of brain transplant. So this one brain that you have, if you mess it up and you fill it with garbage and nonsense, you are going to have trouble. Because who's going to have to wipe that mess? It's you. Now let me show you something about how association and continuing to speak positive to yourself actually plays a very critical role. Yes, and I call this the law of repetition.
Yes, sir.
The law of repetition. You see, if something, even if you don't believe it, but if you get told every time, you are ugly, you are ugly, you are ugly, and you say, nah, I'm handsome.
Yes.
And you laugh at it, say, me, I'm too handsome. Now, let me tell you something. For as long as you are speaking against what they are saying, the chances are you will always continue to think you are handsome.
Wow.
But the day you keep quiet and you let them talk, and while you are quiet, they talk. Let me tell you something. After a while, your brain has been designed that if it hears something for too long, it will believe. And this is the power of what we call media. Media actually operates on the principle of repetition. That's why even in your show, there are adverts that you play throughout the day.
Yes.
You make sure that you play them throughout the day, and a person hears it and hears it, and before the end of the day, they're like, you know what? I actually don't like. I don't want to mention brands because we are on radio. Please. I don't like this brand anymore. I like this brand because they've been hearing Respiri talk about this brand more than anything else. Makes sense. Yeah. Or when people talk about a specific vehicle, I love this car. This car can do this. This car can do that. This, and before you know it, that person says, "Hey, I don't really like mine anymore. I think I must upgrade." Yeah. But it was not their original idea to upgrade. Now let me show you another simple example. Yes, every car that you are driving, that you have ever bought as a person, you bought because you were influenced. True. You didn't just wake up and buy it. You bought it because something influenced you. Yes. It's either you were influenced by an ad on TV, or you were influenced by what someone else said, or someone bought it and you saw it and they were talking so nicely about it and you started liking it. So whatever that you end up doing in life, you are influenced. The reason for that is this. You've got 5 senses that are bringing information to your brain. Yes. Huh? It's taste. Yeah. People who are food lovers will tell you taste is probably one of the most powerful things. Yeah. That's what tells you whether food is good or not. Yes. And the better your taste buds, the more you'll have an appreciation of food, because your taste buds are at that level. And there's a sense of smell. You know, you smell certain things and you realize there are people who are gifted in smelling. You know, there's a lady I'm currently working with on a fragrance brand, and she is amazing when it comes to detecting smells. Wow. She's amazing. Yeah. You know, sometimes I smell things as well. It has to take me a while to smell it and go, oh. Okay. With her, she does it almost immediately. And there are people who have you know, the sense of sight. There are people who are able to look at people, and you look at people and you can interpret their emotions. You know how to interpret their facial expressions. You know how to interpret their feelings and emotions by just looking at them. And then you've got that sense, the sense that we call the sense of hearing. You know, you hear. And this is where now the power comes in. Okay. Because a lot of stuff that you hear has the ability to sit in you. If you hear something too many times, it settles in your heart. Okay. Now, whatever that settles in your heart as a person becomes part of you. If it's still in the brain, it's not part of you. You can deal with it, get rid of it, or take it if you like it. If you don't like it, you can get rid of it. It's still in your brain. But if it stays in your brain for so long that it drops into your heart, it becomes part of you. So you will find that a lot of times at this stage of our lives, you find a lot of personality alterations. People didn't like certain things. It's like when a new wave of new type of music comes in, other people will say, hey, we don't like this thing. Until they hear it so much, before you know it, they are the ones dancing to it. And they like it. And you wonder how. But you are the one that said you don't like this kind of. They said, no, but it's nice. I listened and I think I can enjoy this kind of thing. It's simply because it was repeated so many times that you started liking it. For an example, you know, I always say to people, you can love anyone you want to love. Yes. Even if they don't love you. Just spend enough time around them. Change. Spend enough time around them. You will realize they'll keep seeing you so many times that they'll end up and saying, you know what? Maybe this is not a bad idea. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So when you are exposed to something for too long, it becomes a problem. There are times where you look at couples and you say, how on earth did you people end up together? You wonder and say, so you said yes to him. And she says, yes, I did. And you wonder, how on earth, this guy is either really good at at talking, or for some reason, this person must really be good at what they are doing. Now, all of that has everything to do with what we call repetition. Now, you will find it this way as well. Yes, a lot of people today have an idea of what they call love. Another woman will say, love to me is if you buy me flowers, I feel loved. Yes. And they say, I love flowers, I love flowers. You ask them, so why do you love flowers? Yes. No, it's because they watched the romantic movie. In that romantic movie, this guy did something with flowers and gave flowers to this woman. And they had a warm feeling in the heart when they watched this. And they said, but I think, you know, today they even say, it's my love language. Yes. Like everything is a love language. If you like it, it's your love language. You know, people are adopting love languages to say, if I like it, I love being given gifts. My love language is just taking gifts. You know, it's those type of things. Because when people get exposed too much to things, and you will realize that a lot of people have an altered personality simply because they've been exposed to certain things for too long, to a point where even these days it's even more hectic, because a lot of things that happen on social media, I mean, it's quite hectic that you'll find the life that a person has on social media is not necessarily the same as the one they have in real life. And the sad part is that you are only exposed to the finer side of their lives. Because that's what they post.
True.
And that's what you are attracted to.
Very true.
You don't know everything else that they go through.
Yes,
now, the reality check is almost impossible to have because you never see the bad side of this person. You never see the negative, unless if there's a scandal that comes out in the newspaper or anything like that. But other than that, you are under pressure in your life simply because you are trying to meet up with the nice side of someone else's life. The nice selfies, beautiful makeup, the nice suit, the fast cars, all of that stuff. And you are thinking, I can live this kind of life. But that's not all about them. There's more to them than what you are seeing there. Now, as a person, when you learn to then say, I need to learn to know how to associate, this is going to help you because you are going to avoid putting yourself in spaces where you are forced to hear certain things too many times that they begin to affect you. So, your brain as a human being is designed to receive things via the repetition system. You know, last week I spoke about people that are pastors to say you have to learn the Bible. And you look at the Bible and you say, it's just a thick book. How am I going to get through all of that? You get through it by repetition.
Yes, sir.
You read it over and over, and you'll find a person who's been preaching for 35 years has read the Bible probably from beginning to end 35 times. And it's important because the more you repeat, the more your brain can hang on to certain things. We used to have in primary school what they call recitations. So I mean, some people even today, some are 40 or 50, they still remember recitation in primary school. You see the power of repetition. It allows things to stick in your mind. And when those things stick in your mind, they give you the ability to remember. They give you the ability to be able to remind yourself. Now, everything that is repeated long enough stays with you and it becomes part of you. And you need to always remember that. This is a system of altering personalities. Even with you, when you want to alter, there are things you do not like about your personality and you want to alter them. Keep speaking something positive against that negative trait you don't like. Say it so many times that you even begin to believe it. You will see there will be an alteration. Yes, it's not something that's going to happen all the time. And people sometimes they have this attitude that says, I can't stand there and repeat in my house the same thing over and over and over again. But let me tell you something. Unfortunately, that's how the brain works. That's how you might look like you are mad or you are stupid or whatever the case might be. But let me tell you something. If you need to alter the course or your thinking patterns, you need to learn to repeat certain things to yourself.
True.
You need to learn to say that, because if you do that, then you are going to put yourself in a space where you are now doing what we are called rehabilitation. You are rehabilitating your negative brain towards a positive side. Now, when something is entertained long enough in your mind, it drops into your heart. And I've already said this. And when it drops into your heart, it begins to dictate personality. Have you ever seen people that can watch TV and watch a movie and people are crying on TV and this person already also cries? And you wonder, how Mona, they are acting. You know that they are acting. Why is this affecting you? No, you might find that there is an experience that this person has gone through that links to what they are seeing and already triggers something in their heart. And that is why you will find that a lot of people that have childhood trauma, things that happen when they are young. And I always say to people, you need to understand that for a lot of people, even the devil makes sure that he does things to you when you are young so that you can carry them into your adult life. Because a lot of people, even today, some are 40, 50, they have not overcome something they dealt with when they were young. And that creates a problem because that area of your life is underdeveloped on the positive side, but it's so extremely developed on the negative side that sometimes you don't even want to talk. Have you ever heard a person say, I don't want to talk about it? It's a very sensitive issue for me. They are avoiding it. It's something, it's untouchable. It's something they don't want to attend to. Now, what is important is that you need to learn to realize that those things are being used against you to make sure that you don't get anywhere.
Wow.
Now, look at what racism did in this country. And I'll give you an example. There are people today who are still using race as an excuse why they can't get to where they... Yes, fine, there are maybe instances where it's legitimate. I don't want to argue that. But all I'm saying is that you cannot continue in this day and age when you should be taking advantage of opportunities and you are still complaining about who hates you, who likes you, who thinks you are black, who thinks you are not black. It doesn't make any sense at all. So you see, those type of thinking patterns are thinking patterns that you need to deal with, that you need to get rid of. Because when you get rid of those, you are going to put yourself in a space where you are able to change the way you think and you can do a lot more for yourself.
Wow.
So focus on these two pillars and begin to repeat these things to yourself. You are going to experience a very, very unique transformation in your mind.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Monday motivation. Re dira jalo mantaga mongwe re tshepo mo happy sa trailblazer this man. Re utlile khanye sa gompieno tse minimana tiang ka dintlha tse dingwe na re neilwe.
No, definitely it's something to listen to and actually meditate on, I feel.
Yeah. Ke a bona ntse re le live fa go na le motho mo re le